This is the second part of the Neon live version from Where the Light Is tutorial, featuring the middle part where he does all that crazy bass line stuff. He starts off, if you've joined us for the first time, your 6th string should be tuned out to a C. He starts off with really mellow chord thing. The chord shape for that is the same in all 4 cases. It's fret the 5th with your thumb, 5th fret on the 6th string, and then so stack your fingers starting at the 6th fret of the 4th string, go down 1, 5th fret of the 3rd, 4th fret of the 2nd, and you just kind of jam on this shape with some thumb slaps. First time there's not a lot of variation, it's just pretty much a straight chord with a thumb slap in between. Second time he does some leading with the bass line, like, and then the third time he does this arpeggiated thumb rake. So the thumb rake is kind of like, I use my thumb on the top note or bottom note, depending on what direction you come from, and continue with the thumb, and then end up with the first finger at the last note. Right before he goes into the jazzy bits, he does this kind of, like with this chord, same shape. He throws his pinky down on the 11th fret. So it kind of starts. And again, this chord is that wacky one. You fret the 10th fret with your thumb, 3rd finger at the 10th fret on the 4th string. The 3rd string is at the 7th fret, and then 8th fret on the 2nd, which is featured in the chorus of the song, or the pre-chorus. So again, it's like, and then he goes into that bass line thing. And I want to talk a bit more about that bass line. I wish I would have done it a bit more in the first video, but I'll do it now. So he's got this thing going pretty much the whole time, at least in the neat bits, and it's in between that he throws in all those cool things like and it's the same the whole time. It's the open 7th fret, slap, muted slap, and then 10th fret, and it's in between these that he jams all the stuff in. For instance, the chords he plays during that are, so if we remember those chords, and from the first part it's basically 7th fret on the 5th string, and then 8th fret on the 4th. Then the second one is the 2 middle strings barred at the 8th fret, and then the last bit is the last bit of that chord I showed you a second ago. So he plays these, and then you have the bass line, and together, that's when it starts to sound neat. And the whole essence of this type of fingerstyle guitar is that you're playing the bass line and the chords, or the top part melody, same time. And as long as you understand that, or get that, this becomes a bit easier. And then, like we said, he throws in those crazy little runs and things in between. So, what does he do right after that nice chordy thing? He starts with, that lick is, and the chords he's doing are just what I showed you a second ago. So the second time he repeats the chords, he's actually hitting the open C first by itself, and then together with the chord. So the timing changes. Don't forget the slap, that's always in there after the 7th fret note. So from the top. And then the neat stuff starts happening. First thing he does is this little rake. So we fret a 2-note chord, 3rd string, 8th fret, 11th fret on the 2nd string. Use my pinky, you can use whatever you want. And it's a rake. So you kind of mute with your palm or the other fingers all the other strings and just kind of do a little downstrokey. And that part is like just barring the 8th fret top 3 strings. So we have these two from the top. And then he follows up with this beautiful sliding chord with the bass note. And that's just barring the 7th fret, the top 3 strings, but throwing a 9th fret on there on the top 1st string, and you're sliding this. But at the same time you're sliding it, in order to maintain that bass line going, you're going to sound the open C. So we have the rake. So we continue the bass line, slap, and then he's got this super freaky chord. And what that is, we're fretting the 10th fret for the bass line. Never forget the bass line. The bass line is very important. Then he's got this shape that we've seen before. It's partly the rake chord, but with an extra one on the top there on the bar. So it sounds like this. Yeah, so you bar the 8th fret, you fret the 11th fret, you get your bass line in there on the 10th with your thumb, and it sounds like this. What we're doing is we're sounding all of them together, and then we're taking the 11th fret note off and just getting these 3. So from the top, after that he does this little wakacha wakacha kind of thing. Goes back to the just the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings, the 8th fret, and he throws this kind of as he sounds the bass note, he throws the 2 middle strings fretted at the 10th fret. He's got this thing happening. So you just kind of jam your pinky and 3rd finger on the 2 middle strings, but at the same time you're going to throw that bass note in there, and that's all to maintain the bass line. I'm going to stop saying that because it's probably annoying. So let's go from the top. I'll loop that slow a couple times. Maybe even slower. And then actually he takes a bit of a pause there. He doesn't play that 10th fret to complete the bass line. You can. I usually throw it in just to maintain it. Then he's got this thing happening. So that's we're still in the 8th fret here. He does all the licks from there. 8th fret, bar the 4, 3, and 2nd strings here, and do this thing. So you're fretting the pinky at the 11th fret of the 2nd string, and then come down to the 10th fret on the 2nd string, pull off, and then pull off on the 4th string, like that. And you can play these all together. You can use like all 3 fingers and the thumb, or like any way you want it. So from the top. Then he goes back to those 3 chords again. One more time. Oops. Then after he does those 3 chords, he does this little Reiki chord. Bar the 8th fret, but fret the 10th on the 1st string. And it's kind of like, he actually plucks them all, I believe. So there's that 11th fret on the 2nd we're used to now. I like to rake it. But you can do whatever you want. He actually plucks it. So from the top. So after that, he goes into the chords and he changes it up a tiny bit. So what he's doing there is, when he, this one's the same, when he goes into the 2nd one, he's actually barring and sounding 3 strings instead of the 2 from before. So it's fuller and open, going into that chord. So, sliding all the way down. Yeah, this is that same one we talked about at the beginning. And the 3rd time he does that chord, he's changing the fingering around, going for a different feel. He's actually throwing in that bass line note at the 10th fret again, and fretting the 2 middle strings at the 8th. So, twice, and then the last time. This is the fun part. Everyone likes this part. This is the bass line thing. What he's doing is, so what you're going to do is keep your, these are the notes you're going to be fretting. 3rd fret on the 6th string, 1st fret on the 5th, and this one on the 5th string you're going to keep in contact all the time, but the one on the 6th string you're going to hammer it on. So open, open C, hammer on the 3rd fret, pull the 1st fret, sorry, pull the 1st fret on the 5th string, yeah. And that's kind of important too. In between these, you have like a slap, muted slap, and a muted pluck. That's really important for timing. You don't play it in between those chord snatches like. They come into play there. And that rising stuff he's doing is. So let's talk about some of the real estate on the fretboard and where we're stopping and starting these things. I think of like 3rd, 5th, 7th for the lick. So the first time we do it, we're stopping on the 3rd, 5th, 7th. Don't forget that. So once we have done that the requisite number of times, we're going to the 10th fret, 12th fret. 10th fret, back to the 7th, up to the 12th, back to the 10th, and then the pause thing, the timekeeping little thump we do. When you do it to speed, lather, rinse, repeat. So once again, really slow. Oh, and I should say that, you know what? You're not even really sounding this first fret, sorry, the 5th. All the notes on the 5th string, you're not really sounding them. Sometimes you do by mistake, and he does too, but it's really supposed to be a muted percussive thing. And in the end, it sounds like this kind of big jumble, but it makes sense because you're always hammering on. Somehow it makes sense. So he basically does that a freaking million times. And then he starts singing again. And then he does it. Yeah, I don't really know what he does there. And then it's over. So, and then he goes back into the chorus. Yeah. So, or some part of it. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll probably get around to doing the rhythm parts. I know a lot of people have a lot of tutorials on that, but half of them are wrong, like everything else on YouTube. So I'm going to take a crack at that. It's in the tabs. You can check it out. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it. If there's any other questions, let me know. I'll see if I can fix it in another video if I did something wrong. Catch you later. Bye-bye.